Welcome everyone back to Aeos Clubhouse number 15. It's the 27th of October, and we're here. We're all here. Welcome to you, Mockery.
Hello, so good to be here. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Welcome to you, Kaiberries.
Hey.
Welcome. The berries for all.
Speak of the berries.
Berry madness.
Is this about Greedent, or am I missing some other?
No. Last episode we ended on two mysteries. One, what was going on with pumpkins, but the other, can other people see your berries? And I just wanted to dive straight into it. Yes, they can, and they can eat your berries. Everyone gets berries.
Although I think it doesn't heal the enemy team as much as it heals yours.
I don't know if it heals them as much. It heals them. It's like minuscule. It's like 120.
Tiny. Yeah.
Okay.
But we were saying at the start, I still do it as much as possible to the enemy Greedent because it makes me feel good, like spitefully. Like I'm like, oh, that's your berry. You need that for your abilities. Well, you can't have it, squirrel.
Yeah, I drink your milkshake.
Exactly.
Drink it right up. Exactly. I get you.
It makes me crazy. I gotta get those berries. I'm like a children's cereal commercial when I see those things. I take way more damage. Plus, Greedent also has like abilities that like trigger with the berries. So not only are his berries likely healing him more than the enemy, now they are, you know, he gets shields and stuff like that. So maybe I'm denying something from a defender.
Oh,
probably not worth it.
Absolutely, you're denying something. You know, I think they could literally just not heal you. Like, you could just walk up and stomp on the berries. No nutritional value whatsoever. No healing. And you would still be denying Greedent the fuel for his abilities. Like, his belch scales off of how many berries he's got stored up in them cheeks. And there's self-healing for him, too. So even if it does nothing for you, there's still a significant aspect of denial to it, as well as just crushing the enemy player's morale. So I think it makes perfect sense still.
It is
My experience with Greedent is that the only thing you're going to crush is his morale. So it's like the small victory we have to accept. He's like unkillable. So take what you can get.
Yeah, this man is just out here, you know, just drifting through your entire team, unstoppable seemingly forever, hella AoE damage all over the place, just skirt through your whole team. You can't do anything about it. Maybe you can steal some of his berries and make him a little sad as he just continues entirely unfettered. It's a little crazy.
It is a fascinating choice, though. We've been through a lot of hero designs, other MOBA champions, and we always hear from developers about how dangerous it is to let anything affect the enemy team. And with no celebratory blog posts, no long-winded, waxing philosophical dev comments. They're like, yeah, nobody knows. Can you? Yes, you can, and go for it. We prefer this.
It's an exploration MOBA. That's what it is. They leave all the details and exploring up to us for us to find out. Where would be the sense of search and treasure hunting if we just knew all the information about how the abilities worked? Come on, man.
Very true. Not only are the menus a mystery, but the game itself hides a secret. Speaking of secrets, how about that pumpkin mode?
Oh, everybody's favorite. I think I heard Kaiberries before the show talking about how she just couldn't stop playing it. She loved it so much.
It is the least favorite and most fury-inducing thing I have ever experienced in a video game in my entire life of playing video games. I have never felt the urge or sensation to throw a controller before until that game mode. And like, I have never been able to beat Majora's Mask, and I thought that made me angry and tilted, but it is nothing compared to Pumpkin mode. I can play at max 3 rounds of Pumpkin before I have to turn the entire game off.
Wait a minute.
What's unenjoyable about an extremely low cooldown, everybody gets its CC ability with everybody being pushed around all game and nobody ever dying? I don't understand.
So the pure rage I felt playing that. I did it for like 2 nights where I was trying to to like do the dailies in it and finish all the stuff, and then I haven't been back. I can't. It changes you.
I applaud Mockery for staying on topic there, but I got to go back a quick second.
Oh Lord! All right.
What happened in Majora's Mask? Did you like get like a key and put it in the wrong business, like Water Temple?
So I haven't gone back to Majora's Mask since I was a youth because of like I have like trauma related to that. But when it came out and I was a youth and played Majora's Mask, we didn't have like the strategy guide for it or anything like we did for Ocarina of Time. We just didn't buy it. We figured we were Zelda veterans at that point, we being my brothers and I. And we were wrong. So I don't know exactly where the mistake was made, but I've been crushed by the moon enough times that I just never went back.
And second question, what kind of godly self-control do you have that even in your youth, you never threw a controller? I'm impressed.
I never threw a controller. Like Majora's Mask, be like the example of like a game we couldn't beat and made me really frustrated. It was more just like, I'm leaving and just like turning off the system and leaving. But yeah, like I was actually playing that mode and I'm like, I was just like so filled with fury. I was ready to launch my controller for sure. I played ranked to D-tilt. That's where I was.
Is it really so godly in terms of self-control to never have thrown a controller? I mean, I grew up playing Warcraft 3, Call of Duty, Halo. I have been called everything under the sun as recently as last night. And I have never thrown a controller, or even I would say destroyed any of my own property, or even damaged my own property in response to video games.
Well, that's really impressive.
Although I think I get a little bit less tilted than a lot of other people, but still, I don't think it's like wildly out of the question, you know? To me,
I really thought about it though. I was like, it was in my mind where my brain was just like, yeet the controller, just do it, throw it against the wall, stomp on it while you're at it.
Well, that's the thing about a controller. It has this kind of boomerang shape, and the one hand wield has some weight to it. Like you bring up a keyboard, this is too inconvenient. Like, what am I gonna do? Pick up the keyboard and then like bang it on things like a big plate? Like
I've seen people do it. I mean, I've seen that. Wasn't there the infamous Rage video from a good like 15 years ago where the kid starts like slamming his controller? I feel like he was doing something in World of Warcraft and he just goes bananas on his keyboard.
I'd be impressed. What's up?
My favorite one was back in the StarCraft esports day. A guy just goes, oh, and just head slams the keyboard and keys go flying everywhere.
I'm just wondering, who was it? Was it Shroud that just gets frustrated in mid-session and just winds up and just clocks his webcam right in the lens? It was someone like that, and I never understood that. I was like, why in anger would I make my own problems worse?
It's irrational, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, I was so mad. I was just like, I was ready to destroy my own property.
Well, for me, it was a Nintendo 64 controller and Mario Party. That's where a controller bit the dust by velocity.
Mario Party, I could totally see being the catalyst for first-time controller throwing.
Your hands were sore and broken from doing a tug of war and the boob cycle, and it just couldn't take another moment. Actually, it was the boo cycle. There was like you got to go through like the puzzle dimension. It wasn't the game itself. You had to go through it's kind of like the Super Smash Bros. Island you go to, where it's all the mini games and you have to use it to progress. Anyway, so pumpkin mode, a big no across the board then.
Hate it.
Mockery?
It's certainly my least favorite. I'm not actively raging. You know, my controllers are safe. But it is certainly something where I'm doing it because I need to get the events done. I personally, you know, even if I'm not a fan of a particular event, I'll throw on a show on Netflix and I'll grind it out in CPU matches or something. And that's kind of the approach that I take to this Pumpkins mode on accident. I don't know, Kyberries, I assume you've been playing against real people?
Yes.
Yeah. So I I accidentally queued up for a match with real people, and I was like, oh no, this is so much worse. Yeah. So I understand. From my perspective of like, I'm just gonna get through these dailies. Even in versus AI versus the CPU, and for that it's been fairly tolerable, and I'm getting my daily pumpkins. So given that context, it's okay for me.
In this video, Kaiberries is currently under attack by someone named El Halloween, so I guess they really like the mode.
It's
Strange.
quite fitting.
Good.
You're watching the pumpkin modes. I don't know. Just watch just the dead mix of sadness and rage in my eyes.
Yeah, we're watching here minute 18 of 4-hour stream, so I'll be sure to flip forward and see what happens. I too just I just got in there and did it. In fact, I've fallen in love with Gardevoir for it because everyone levels up so fast. You actually get to spend some time as Gardevoir, and so I'm using
That's true. Yeah.
I'm using it like as an excuse to actually play like high damage Gardevoir rather than farm Gardevoir, and it's been interesting. I'm kind of surprised that it hasn't devolved into full blown farming, but the quest is only to put the pumpkins on people's heads, not that you get pumpkins per pumpkin head pudding. But I almost expected at this point, after a week of it, to basically everyone line up in the middle and be like, pumpkin for you, now you do me, now you do me, now you do me, and we just all get it done.
That would be preferred to actually playing the game mode. Actually, I would just prefer that.
Whatever works, I guess. It's always hard to sort of enter those deals with other players when there's no element of all chat or anything like that. You know, it's like you have to create some sort of nonverbal ritual. Like, oh, if you go in mid and you 720 to the left, then that indicates that you want to do the trading of the pumpkins. You know, you have to come up with all sorts of shenanigans to non-verbally communicate that that's what you want to do. And I don't know if the Pokemon Unite community would ever make it there.
Well, we'll talk about some of that communication actually from the devs as they talked about their philosophies later on in the show. As for the general game then, because we all played some pumpkins, went, oh, I'm done, and then went and played the other game. How has that been for everybody?
Fine. Non-pumpkin gameplay continues to be fine.
Yeah, and I will say that's something that I really like about this Halloween quick match mode is that you're not forced to play it as your only avenue of quick match. If you go through and click onto the map, then you actually get the option within the quick match menu of playing either the Halloween mode or whatever quick match mode would normally be available at that time. So, you know, with a player base as large as Unite has, with those entirely legitimate 7.5, 9 million, whatever pre-registrations that we had for mobile, they can afford to be a little choosy and let you have extra modes that may fracture the player base a little bit, but still just give you the full freedom of choice. And I've liked the real game itself. You know, I have been having a blast just playing so much free MMR Zeratul. I think that character is ridiculously easy wins right now, and I do appreciate that you still have the option to play conventional quick match. So I'm pretty happy with the state of the game.
Now, I saw your tweet earlier, and did you say that on purpose? Because you just said Zeratul.
Oh, did I say that all the time on accident? Did I say Zeratul? Okay, so Zeratul is a character from StarCraft that's in Heroes of the Storm who has an extremely similar playstyle, or used to before it got nerfed out of the game because it was way too good, had an extremely similar playstyle to current Zeraora. So no, that was not intentional. They sound so similar, they play the same way, they just kind of melded in my mind. But no, I've been all over that Zeraora.
And he got bug fixed this week too to get rid of a little bit of that power as well.
What was changed?
That was on our October 20th patch. It was Wild Bolt Plus was causing more damage than expected. Oh, I guess on Plus it wasn't the hugest impact, but you know, it could change a game.
Wild Charge?
Yeah.
Is what I'm seeing?
Yeah, Wild Charge.
Gotcha.
The plus version, though.
I wasn't even picking Wild Charge. Right now, everybody is going to, in my experience, what I'm running, what I'm seeing when I spectate these high rank Zeraoras, not Zeratools, is that they're running Volt Switch Discharge, and you basically just pop in with Volt Switch, and you're huge AoE damage. There's nothing you can do, and then once your AoE damage is out, you just pop right back out. And it's a very in and out play style, just ridiculously good at trading damage, diving enemy backlines. You know, you have enough time in that Volt Switch to take out a whole Eldegoss many of the times. So it's, you know, I don't
feel
care
attacked.
about a nerf to an ability that I don't play. And yeah, you're welcome, Kai.
Oh, that's cool. I actually haven't spent any time on Zeratul at all because he's just so cool. You know what I mean? Like, it's the thing everyone's ordering at the restaurant, and you're going to go, I'm going to get something else. I don't even know what that is. But
That's awfully contrarian of you, Kyle.
Well, I do have those hipster bones in my body. I want to be unique. You know, one thing I do when I get into a new game is I go, okay, let me go look up data. What's the least played hero? What's the least played class in this MOBA? I'm gonna be that. I want to be special, and it's always kept me lower rank than perhaps I might want to be sometimes.
I feel like
go for it.
What's up? Okay. I feel like to an extent, I almost base what I play off of what other people don't like playing against. You know, like, what's the thing that everyone gets mad at you for playing? All right, that's the main, you know? It's a little scummy, but I've got the psychological advantage by doing it. And also, not necessarily in Unite, but in many other games that have a draft mode where you can only have one of each character, if you're playing the turbo annoying character that everybody hates to go against, by picking it, you're banning it. You're not going to have to play against it. So it's your own little form of insurance against it in most MOBAs, but not Unite.
It's a really good strategy. And it definitely is really good.
Sure.
And for taking advantage of when something's powerful too. Like seeing something be quote unquote broken or OP. And then you say, yeah, that's what I'm going to be. More power to you. Oh my goodness. I've got this trait I have that makes me play it makes me play oddities like Crazy Bird, you know, as Cramorant.
Whatever floats your boat, my guy.
Exactly. I'm playing for the passion, for the fun. Kai Berries, where you been?
I spent a bunch of time tanking again.
Okay.
I didn't like playing Greedent. It's too hard. My brain is too small and too smooth for Greedent. So still playing Mamoswine and Blastoise. However, Mamoswine might be on the shelf for a little bit because Mamoswine into Greedent feels terrible. So Blastoise. And then Eldegoss if somebody else is willing to tank, then I'm still healing.
So is it all the Unstoppable and Mamoswine?
All the Unstoppable and
Yeah.
Mamoswine's all CC, and then also Mamoswine not the best at gap closing, right? He wants to catch you and then CC you, but he can't ever catch Greedent, right? Like I can't get to him to put abilities on him in the first place, and then if I do, he's unstoppable anyway.
Sure. So it ends up just being well, useless, I guess.
Yeah, he's skating around doing whatever he wants to do, and I can't peel backline. I can't really engage on him. I end up trying to go and put myself in their backline, but my teammates are all disrupted by the squirrel that's on top of them, and it's really just, it's not good. It's not great.
That's interesting. So, and because we have no draft mode, you can't really declare, okay, well, you know, I've learned my lesson. I'm just going to be careful. And I will pick Mamoswine when I see a favorable matchup. But since
we don't know that's going to happen, and honestly, you can just assume he's going to be there at all times right now. Everybody's playing him, so.
Oh, with him free on the pumpkin business.
Oh yeah, I had him in like every game, so I just assume that Green's going to be there.
Huh? That's a
That is very much the strategy that you should do, I think, in any of these kinds of games. Whenever there's a new character that everybody is playing right away, you either want to play the thing that synergizes really well with it on your team or works super well against it on the enemy team. Because you know that you're going to get these favorable matchups all night. So that is just what, in my opinion, if you're like me, you know, doing whatever you can to get those easy wins, then that's the move right there.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, let's explore that because I'm sick of my hard money. I want some of that easy money. I want some of what Mockery's cooking. So, what counters Greedent, in your opinion?
Oh man. Oh, don't put me on the spot like this. I was just saying it's a good thing to do. Hold on. Well, okay. So if I had to just think of something right off the top, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look at Mamoswine Greedent, like Kyberries was just talking about. Let's think about why Mamoswine is bad into Greedent, under what she was saying. So Mamoswine is all area damage and CC. And so area damage and CC without a lot of mobility is of course going to be weak into the character that's running everywhere really fast with a lot of unstoppable. And so what do you need into characters like that? You need direct damage. That's basically the only thing that's going to work against a character that's running around everywhere, unstoppable, super fast, is you just need direct damage. That's exactly what we saw when Hogger came to Heroes of the Storm. There's our Heroes of the Storm reference. And one thing that happened a lot was people were picking Tychus into him for the direct damage onto the otherwise uninteractive target. Similarly, I think that into this character that is too fast for AoE to really have much of an effect and too unstoppable for CC to do much of anything, my mind immediately goes to just who can pump out a lot of single target damage onto Greedent. Who can hit him even at range as he's jumping around through your team? Who can put that damage on him? And my very first thought about that is Cinderace. Because Cinderace, oh, he's unstoppable, he moves really fast. Well, you don't really care. Your auto attacks are still all going to hit him because those auto attacks aren't going to miss. And you're still going to get your percentage health damage shred with your muscle band, which is super impactful for hitting tanks as the Cinderace. You're wonderful at whittling tanks down for that reason. So basically all of the weaknesses that Mamoswine has in the matchup versus Greedent are entirely reversed when you're talking about Cinderace. Cinderace is the opposite of Mamoswine in terms of a lot of AoE and CC. No, we're going the other direction. We're going all single target, no CC, just point and click damage, effectively point and click damage. And so, yeah, if Greedent wants to go and try and skirt and drift through your whole team while he's just getting this steady stream of fireballs that can't miss on him, that seems to me, if I just had to intuit an answer, like what I would try first. So Cinderace is my answer.
That was improvised. That was a good answer.
Yeah, no, it was the first time I thought about it because somebody gave me no warning. It was just like, what's your counter? Go. And I was like,
You brought it up. Don't blame me for one to learn.
That's fair enough. Okay.
I definitely, I found myself back on Blissey this week because the power of Blastoise is still going. I feel like I've gotten a lot better at recognizing when a team has enough damage to run her. And I just really still enjoy that hustle and play style of charging people down and forcibly feeding them eggs. And with all the upgrades to the non-heals like the shielding and the safeguard, it's just still so much fun.
I actually played a bit more Blissey too for the pumpkin mode, right? Because when I was getting mega tilted in the pumpkin mode, chat was like, hey, Blissey is good in pumpkin mode because she can cleanse the pumpkin. So maybe you'll be less tilted if you play Blissey and then you just cleanse the pumpkin off. But no, there's not enough cleansing in the world because the pumpkin has such a short cooldown and everybody has it that even with Blissey, it's just too much pumpkin. But it was a try. It was an attempt was made.
Could you drift through the pumpkins with Unstoppable and just like hide in a bush until you drift out for pumpkin time?
Like with Greedent? Yeah, any Unstoppable works. So if you have a lot of Unstoppable, you won't get pumpkins. Yeah, that's actually another reason why it's tilting if you go to try to pumpkin a Greedent and he's just like, hey, later, loser.
He does have that vibe. He's definitely calling everyone losers as he slides by.
I'd like to imagine, you guys are taking a totally different vibe from Greedent here. The way I see it, this guy is way too busy just stuffing his cheeks, belching all over the place to really care. He's like, you're CCing me, whatever. Oh, you're damaging me, whatever. I'm just gonna run over through here, turn this corner, pick up these berries, and you guys are just gonna kind of be here, I guess, and you're gonna take some AoE damage along the way, you know?
So he
He's too
literally
busy
slides
getting
by
his
you on
grub
his
on.
he slides by you on a skateboard wearing sunglasses and spits on you until you die. Like,
Yeah, that's the epitome of not caring. You know, your opponents will be there, your opponents won't. Regardless, you're gonna eat some berries and you're gonna skate around. You know, like that's the most lackadaisical. And just he's not called greedent for nothing. You know what I mean? I don't think it's wrath. I think it's greed. It's sloth.
have you been run down and 1v1 killed by a green? Because I have as Eldegoss, and you cannot outrun him and escape him. And with the, what is it, bullet seed or what? He literally spits on you until you die. It's the most insulting thing. Just like, wow.
Hold on, I gotta check. Yeah, no, so his two abilities are he can choose to upgrade tackle into either spitting on you or burping on you.
Yeah, it's
The only two answers. But I think you misunderstand. Yes, he definitely does that. I'm arguing that it doesn't come from malice. You know, he is not filled with rage while doing so. He's only thinking about getting his grub on.
I don't see it as rage, more of like a Bart Simpson-esque, like smarmy ha as he spits on you until you die.
That's
And
a
then
totally
skateboards
different
away into the
character in the
sunset.
show, but I totally get what you're going for.
Well, I mean, like Bart too, like a kind of like juvenile, like.
Yeah. I respect it.
So what Mockery is saying is that Greedent is a distinguished and fluffy mountain squirrel living his own life, collecting berries, maybe throw some seeds at you go by, but you can hear him, chittering in the trees. Whereas maybe
you ever seen the Pyro from TF2? And the Pyro, you know, he's a murderous maniac running around lighting everything aflame with his indistinguishable words and lust for fire. And then you see things in Team Fortress 2 from his perspective, and he's shooting a gun of flowers all over the place and singing joyful songs as he does it. There's no ill will there. That's how I feel like Greedent is. It appears the same way to me.
I think Kai Berries and I are more on the side of the city squirrel. He's a little scruffy, he's a little weird, and he wants to steal our lunch.
Oh man, I actually have my U of H shirt on right now. I was way too friendly with the U of H squirrels when I went there. Like people would look at me weird because I was the guy that had like a little jar of like peanuts, and I would literally have squirrels like crawling all over me
On your
and stuff like that. Yes, like not like, you know what I mean? Just like they like crawl up my jeans and on my shirt and stuff. Yeah, no, dude, that was hype. Like U of H squirrels were, they were chunky and they were super nice for the most part. And they knew what they were there for. These squirrels walked up to you on the sidewalk as you were going to class, like, all right, what you got for me? You know, like they'd come up to you, just anybody, and be like, all right, let's go, cough it up.
Did they have names?
They were. We did have one squirrel with a white tail that was kind of a legend on campus that unfortunately did not survive through my entire time at the University of Houston. So there's a whole mythos to it. Like I'm talking, even when I was touring the campus, my own tour guide stopped to feed a squirrel while we were doing that. So that shows you the culture.
In hushed tones, they told you of the squirrels, whereas, what was it, 2005, they're all like, you get to join this thing called Facebook. And we're all like, ooh, what's that? That sounds exciting.
If only you knew where that would go.
The tragedy of our time. The October 26th patch came in, and you may have noticed some small changes to the game. First of all, they put out some announcements. The season end is going to be happening at 9 a.m. Monday, November 8th. Now, I'm not actually sure which 9 a.m. that is at the moment, but they said 9 without a time zone. Oh, okay.
It's 9 a.m. somewhere.
Okay, so that'd be in Japan, because this was the Japanese translated tweet, which I believe is, I'm not sure. I'll figure that out. But either way, the 8th, it's coming up. It's coming up fast, actually, the end of the season. That'd be the end of the whole battle pass as we know it for the 2 seasons that it lasted, but different battle. The ranked season then, the first season, is coming to an end on November 8th.
Did you finish your second battle pass?
Wait, Mocker, I think you're muted.
Hello. I
Hello.
didn't realize it was muted.
Hey!
I don't know how long that's been a thing. But I hope you guys haven't missed me for too long. But what I'm seeing is that 9 a.m. Thursday is 5 p.m. 9 a.m. anytime in Japan is 5 p.m. the previous day in Pacific time here in the U.S.
Oh.
So plan accordingly.
So we'd have to be ready on the 7th then.
That appears to be the case.
Okay. Have you completed your battle pass?
I am like 3 levels off, 5 levels off, so I should be able to get it fairly soon within the next couple days here. I unfortunately had to miss days here and there. Some of them I was just not entirely on the ball or anything like that, but I'm gonna get it. That Gengar skin is way too good to pass up. Just like the Cinderace skin was way too good to pass up. I don't even own Gengar, but I still want to get it just to have it. You know, this game does a wonderful job of harnessing that FOMO in everything that they make you do and all the dailies. So yeah, I'm gonna get there.
Kaya berries?
I'm gonna have to hustle. I'm a little behind.
I'm in Camp Hustle as well. I've got my Sporin, I've got my kilt, and I'm pretty pleased. But that leaves me still a really long way to go. And Spaceman, you know, it's not the goal I'm going for. I want the Gengar as well. I'm pretty pleased with that kilt though. I do look pretty good.
I also don't own Gengar or have any plans to play him, but I also just like to have things. So I want to have it just to have it. But like, yeah, I'm a little behind at the moment.
Well, that'll be coming to an end then on November 7th. There's also the notice that the pre-register rewards must be collected by the 31st. So you've got 4 days to get in there and click that button if you haven't for some reason. And those are pretty good rewards. So the October 26th patch brought in some bug fixes. One of them was that Greedent, or as he's known in Japan, because this was a translated tweet I did, Yoki Boris, which is just an adorable name. Greedent wasn't completing quests in the participate in battles certain number of time zones. So that is now fixed. If you were on a Greedent spree, you weren't completing quests.
Yeah, he didn't count as a defender for the quest that mandated that you play a certain amount of defender games, but that's over now.
There is now also an update to the main screen, you will notice. The lobby's changed a little bit, but the friends now have a sidebar so you can see your friends based on their current online or activity listed off to the left. And the main screen now has an icon for events.
I really like making the friends thing more apparent because I always feel like I never knew who was online. You had to kind of really look for that.
Yeah,
I think that was a good call.
Yeah, I think that both of those changes, putting the friends list and the events tab on the main menu directly much more easily accessed, is just a good thing. You know, it eliminates the annoyance with every single day just having to dig through the menus, which you still have to do to go get your fair play points. You know, you got to get that trickle of gold that gets you ever so closer to another character. But I do think that these are good because, you know, I'm a very forgetful person, so I'd always be digging into the events tab and I'm like, oh, what did I have to do again? And then I go back to the game and I'm like, wait a second, what did I have to do again? And I'm going back 3 times, you know, like you're looking at your watch over and over again. So making the events tab and friends tab, making the events tab easier to access is so good. And just being able to see who's online from a glance, not even having to go search for it, so convenient. I think that's going to do more to help people pair up. So that's really good.
I'm interested to see what they're going to do with the Unite squads. Like, we have this friends list thing now. I really want the ability to make events, or like World of Warcraft, they eventually added calendars and you could get people to sign up and they could be from other regions and other servers and everything else. And then eventually they could all kind of aggregate towards your one raid that you would put together. And that was super duper cool if you weren't running normal, you know, official raids in that game. It'd be really awesome to set like, all right, in there, I'm going to be online, and anyone could do this in the squad because it's such a small group of 30 only. You could be like, I'm going to be online at 5. There's going to be these slots available because we're playing quick match, we're playing ranked, whatever it is. Press the button, sign up, and then I can just like say, it's 5 o'clock, bam, invite all. And that'd be just I don't know what to do with the squad right now. And I want to use it, but I also don't want to like type to people because typing is so unfun on my Switch.
Yeah, I agree. I strong agree with that.
I'd rather
the squads feel so like it's there, but
Yeah.
I don't know what the purpose of it is.
It is a little strange at the moment, but I'm hoping that they do something with it. You know, like I feel that with the rapid pace that features and updates and content have been coming out, that the current state of anything never seems too permanent. It never seems too fixed. Who knows where anything is going to end up? And I'm curious to see if they end up doing something with squads for that reason.
That's a good
I just
point.
assume they will. They took the time. They made it, right? They put it there. They have to have some kind of goal for it, right?
I would think
I mean, hopefully, you know.
I would assume it just generally things aren't made that do nothing and have no purpose because they took time to make. That's dev time, right? Time is money, friend.
I do
You
like
say that. I remember weather in Heroes of the Storm.
It had a purpose, okay? It had a purpose, just a bad one, all right? But
Okay.
it certainly did things
That's fair.
to my computer.
Yeah, it did things to my frame rate.
But it is a fair. I like your initial assumption, Mockery, that perhaps it's just a forgotten thing for the moment as they worked on getting everything else out ahead of time, as they kind of cleaned out their back catalog of Pokemon who've been waiting. They've been getting all these skins, the events. They have their first big season switch, not the console, but season 2 coming up, trade off into the second season. So we don't know what that's going to bring, and that'll be the first like full season that everyone, the mobile players, are going to experience. So hopefully it just kind of got a little forgotten. I'm sure there's some devs somewhere going nuts. It's like it's their baby. They want to make it work, and they keep delaying them.
Yeah.
My thought is like, okay, so another mobile game that infamously is monetized is Raid Shadow Legends, right? Raid Shadow Legends introduces clans. Initially, they don't really do anything. You can just have people in them. And then they add clan boss, where everybody has to work together to defeat this big boss for good loot. Then they add clan battles, where you go head to head in challenges versus other clans. And then they add clan like challenges where you get like you have to do dungeons in a certain way configuration that's really difficult to earn points for your clan, and they continue to just add things over time. They shipped clans when they were ready with really no features, and then as those features are ready and developed, they kind of stick them in there and they become more important. I kind of see this as being like that. Like squads were ready, the base framework was ready, so they shipped it. There you go. And as time goes on, features will be added. That's what I think is going to happen. That's my thought.
How did that work? Were you grouping up and playing the game itself, or was everyone contributing individually like a World of Warcraft event?
So with the clan boss, everyone contributes individually. There's this boss, he has a bunch of health, and you set up your team and everybody chips away at it.
That sounds fun.
Everybody runs it individually and chips away, and how much you contribute determines what kind and how much loot you're going to get. So there's the incentive to be like the best contributor and do a certain amount of damage and stuff.
That sounds really enjoyable. I like that.
And then when they added like the quests or challenges, like the more challenges your clan completes, the more stuff you get. But if you take a challenge and then don't complete it, nobody else can complete it. So you're kind of incentivized to discuss like, oh, I can do this and you can do that. And
yeah. Oh, I like that. Oh, and then they could put on like play 10 games of Gengar, and everyone's like, no, I don't. And I
want to do the Gengar. Yeah, exactly.
I got it, everybody. Don't worry. I'll handle this.
But then there's one where it's like there's one sitting there to play 10 games of Slowbro, and nobody wants that. And who's going to be that Slowbro player?
I would be the Slowbro.
There you go. You're going to get those points for us.
Kaiberries, I routinely, every time Slowbro is brought up, Kaiberries is like, no one likes Slowbro. Only idiots like Slowbro. And I'm like,
I know you're going to say it at this point. I know you're going to say it.
I'm here. I enjoy the character. I think he's fun. And then you're like, no, only dum-dums enjoy that character. No one could possibly find him fun. This is like the 5th time Kyberries has subjected me to this in various conversations, okay? I am all about Slowbro rights, all right? I am a Slowbro advocate. He is...
Okay, the day I see you voluntarily play Slowbro, maybe I'll stop doing it. You talk this game, but I've yet to see it happen.
Oh,
I mean, I'm sorry, I'm just simultaneously too busy balling, okay? Like I said, you know, I got to master playing my jungle Cinderace. I've been farming with Zeraora. I've been all over the place, you know? I'm not saying it's do you want me to have fun or do you want me to ball out? You know, I can do both.
But you don't want people to see you playing Slowbro.
What does that
I would
mean?
be ashamed for people to see me play Slowbro, like, honestly.
Yeah, what Kyberries is inferring is that you guys have grouped up and played, and she has yet to see a Slowbro of at least performance or something that made her note, you know what? Mockery does love that Slowbro.
Yeah, like I said, I'm too busy balling. I'm too busy carrying, you know? Like, sorry for giving you so many free points, I guess, Kyberries. I guess I'll stop doing that from now on.
Wow.
You're saying you're not going to win if you play Slowbro? Like,
hey, this okay? See, now this is shifting the goalposts. You see this? Let's listen to this. Kyberries has shifted it from no one can enjoy Slowbro to so you pick something else when you want your competitive edge. And these are different arguments, Kyberries. Are we talking about enjoyment? Are we talking about competitive strength? Don't you flip this up on me? All right?
Honestly, though, I'm going to say both with Slowbro. He's unfun and trash. Like,
Chad, help me out here, all right? I have to know that at least some of our listeners at home see the light, that we recognize the fun of the CC, the damage, the ultimate CC that pierces unstoppable. Tell me somebody else finds that fun, because I sure do.
You know, I believe you. I believe you because you've made a distinction in the show about going for what's great and then also having fun. Those are two different things for Mockery, and that's awesome. Many of us decide we like Cramorant and Gengar and have fun deciding that fun isn't exactly winning. And I respect the amount of points you win. I respect that. Also, you bring up you brought up an accidental point there, that piercing unstoppable during Greedent Rain might be a pretty good time for Slowbroing.
If only we had a certain character that could lock up Greedent like you were complaining about, Kai. But your own prejudice has blinded you from the answer.
Okay, but wait, there's more with Slowbro. So even though it is like, it's this good move that can counter other alts and pierce unstoppable, it's, in my opinion, very finicky and difficult to land, especially on hypermobile targets. So, like, good luck hitting Greedent with that. He's going to skate right past you and you're going to miss.
Well, that's telekinesis, which does not pierce unstoppable and is part of his base kit. The ultimate is actually point and click and cannot miss, unless you just get it on the wrong target, akin to Oblistance, which you may
I don't know what that is.
with.
I've never heard of that ability before. Wow, what is that?
Ultimate, as it is.
Wow, what is that? You mean Bliss Assistance? Bliss
I don't know what that is, but
yeah, big
I
hustle.
will say, there is nothing in this game. Legitimately, I have not found a play in this game that feels better than, as Slowbro, you have your ult ready. Charizard walks up to you, pops his ult. He's in the air, he's flying around like, I can duel anyone. And you just go, yeah, and you snatch him out of the air with your Slowbro ult. And you're like, I'm going to hold you right here, buddy. It feels so good to just take someone else's ult and just crumble it. Like I said before, just drink their milkshake right in front of him. It's a psychological factor, okay, that just, I guess some of us aren't sophisticated enough to appreciate. Not saying any names in particular, sorry, a bit of a cough right there. But I understand, if you're just not on that level, Kai.
How many Slowbros do you see a night in ranked?
I plead the fifth.
Yeah!
They're all
I don't have to answer that question.
Yeah. Because he is the Slowbro.
Yeah, they're all just late making it to the lobbies. Yeah, they're embodying the true spirit.
They're RPing actual Slowbro, and they're just they'll be there tomorrow.
Listen, Patreon.com/Aeos Clubhouse. You could complete a goal that we haven't started yet, where Mockery on camera plays Slowbro with Kai berries. And I'll do something like Gengar in the background. And it'll be perfect. It's gonna own, it'll destroy. You can help us reach goals like that don't yet exist, as well as goals that do exist, over at patreon.com/Aeos Clubhouse. Now,
just saying, if the goal is high enough, I'll play Slowbro in pumpkin mode. Like, I can be bought.
I was gonna say, I was like, what we need to do is you play Slowbro with the three of us. You play Slowbro until you win. Okay, so if you lose, then you got to run it back and you got to play another Slowbro game. So, you know, I would get a few in here and there. Kai could have fun playing 5-6 games of Slowbro in a row. It would just be a good challenge for all of us. But to touch on the Patreon thing again, there is one thing just for the viewers. I talked about it in the past, and it is coming to fruition. I am setting up to answer all the questions some of the questions that we don't get to on the show as its own little mini segment on the Patreon, because we do have limited time up here and we love to talk about anything and everything and make an absurd amount of references to Heroes of the Storm every stream. So we do miss some of the questions, and I want to let you know that we are getting to those on the Patreon. That is something that I'm going to be focusing on here. So just stay tuned for that one.
Awesome. There's also a lot of questions we get that we may have covered in previous episodes, so kind of get put away for a moment and then get lost in that mailbag. And that's a great opportunity for the patrons to catch up on any strategy we may have covered in previous episodes and questions that may have gone by the wayside. Awesome for you to do that. And I look forward to posting that for everybody over there at patreon.com/Aeos Clubhouse. There was a official dev conversation had through email with Kotaku this past week, which made quite a bit of a splash across all MOBA news. This was one of the Pokemon Unite producer getting on and talking about why they don't show the score at all. And they said, the matches last 10 minutes and players have the possibility of making a comeback, so we want people to play without giving up at the very end. We are consistently listening to our fans. As part of that, we have implemented the held item enhancer tickets and trial tickets in the September update to make this process of picking held items more enjoyable and rewarding experience for players. This was kind of out of nowhere. It was a little bit of a PR conversation all the same, but it highlighted to many people who haven't played this game at all the lack of scoreboard, but also the pay-to-win fiasco they may have felt and experienced across the web back in this game's infancy, which being on episode 15 here wasn't that long ago, but all the same, there have been updates since.
I still want to see a scoreboard.
I maintain, I think I said this on the first or second episode, that if you see a scoreboard, especially if you're on a phone, you know, you're on your phone on transit, walking down the sidewalk, something, and you look at that scoreboard and you're down 200 points, even if Zapdos is coming, a decent number of people just see that and just go, man, never mind. And they just turn their screen off and put their phone in their pocket and they're just going about their day. And if you want to minimize that, then I get it, you know, from a scoreboard perspective. What I want more than anything is a stronger spectate function. I think that's really what I would like to see. And in spectating, you can see the scoreboard, but it's very limited in that you can't, I don't think you can spectate custom games right now from your friends list, which is something I was trying to do recently and was unable to do. And it really limits our ability to do Unite esports. But as far as scoreboards go, I'm honestly okay with the current state of things.
You already have people who, with even without a scoreboard, decide that they're too far behind and just AFK. Like, it's a thing that already happens.
It's a matter of degree. It's not like binary, like it's all gonna happen or it's not. You know, if you can cut down on that, that's still a good thing, no?
I don't think that it does with the amount of people I do see AFKing or asking to surrender. like really early, even when they're ahead sometimes. Like, if anything, if you're trying to mitigate that, I would get rid of the surrender button, because the surrender button existing is incentivizing people to give up early.
I almost feel like the surrender button shouldn't be a thing until Zapdos dies, to be honest. I feel like if you want to surrender, then maybe you should give Zapdos your best effort, and if you don't get it and things just look completely hopeless, then sure. But until then, it's I find most pre-Zapdos surrenders, the vast majority of them, to be a little questionable.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like, it is possible to defend after losing Zapdos, depending. If your team doesn't get wiped, you can wipe the enemy team. I mean, we've done it, but you got to at least give that like a try. But I've
Sure.
also had games where we've won or lost by like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points. And I just feel like if people knew how close it was, it would have changed how they behaved at the
Mm.
end.
So it's having the opposite effect then. They're
Yeah, it's not even people not trying, although sometimes not trying, but also not like not hustling to turn in, staying back to defend, or just kind of like memeing and fighting in the lane because you think the game is already over, but it's actually incredibly close and they have no way of knowing that.
I mean, I've certainly
And
had go for it.
I've had that happen a lot, more than you would think, where the games are super close. And if one more person had turned in on either team, it would have changed the game. Um, or like one person did turn in and that one turn in won the game, and nobody really tried to defend because they thought they had it in the bag, right? Like, we got Zapdos, we all turned in, so everybody's memeing and fighting and they think they've got it in the bag. One person sneaks back a turn in, and that was actually the points you needed to win.
I've definitely won a game through surrender that we weren't winning. They straight up left when they were ahead and didn't know it.
So funny.
And I'm sure they have data on this because they can probably highlight which games have actually been surrenders, what of those have been from ahead, and clearly they don't see an issue like that. I've got a wild idea. What if the scoreboard was only available if you had all your fair play points?
Ooh, that's
Hmm.
kind of interesting thought.
I mean, so I had something happen to me recently where I had this really weird bug for about 10 straight days where my Switch just didn't let me connect to games. And I found out about it when I tried to load into a game, and I just got stuck on the load screen forever, and I had to close the software. And that actually docked me 12 fair play points. I got 2 emails about it.
Oh,
Where
wow.
Yeah, no. I got a penalty for AFKing for part of the match, and then I got another penalty for AFKing for the whole match, as was indicated in my emails. So I don't know, and I have been getting them back. I think I was down to 88, and I think I'm up to 96 fair play points about maybe 5 days later. But it's still, I don't know. I don't know if I'd say if you have all your fair play points. I could definitely see when you're starting to get close to not being eligible to play ranked or something like that. I could potentially see it. Even then, I'm a little skeptical, to be honest.
That's fair. So not the chance for abuse necessarily, but for innocent mistakes to cause you to
Yeah.
be unfaired of your points could cause someone to lose that feature, an important feature.
Yeah, that's always the thing that you have to weigh out whenever you are doing any kind of game dev or online media or anything like that. Is and this is something that happens a lot in the security world as well, is whenever you make something more secure, you're typically making it more inconvenient to use as well. Whenever you're implementing DRM to prevent people from pirating your games, that is also making it more inconvenient for legitimate users. And similarly here, a measure like this, while it would certainly have an impact on the people that are leaving when they shouldn't, it would undoubtedly impact a few people that don't really deserve it. So that's always a sort of balancing act you have to think about.
I'm just jumping in the game here. I want to see what the point levels currently are, and if there's one that would be that would work for this. Because yeah, they don't just take you right out of rank because you've got no points. So standard battle ban below 59, ranked match ban below 60, and fair play point rewards not received if you're below 80. So that scales down pretty slow. So you would even think maybe that maybe losing the standard match might be the place for this, down at the 50 points and below. Like you gotta be real.
Honestly,
you gotta be a real bad person, bad apple.
Yeah, I think that once you start getting the fair play points decently low, that's when it stops being as much of an accident and starts being more of a pattern. So I could see something like that potentially.
Okay. I haven't really heard much about the item enhancer and trial tickets. Have you guys used all yours? Have you heard of anybody making use? I kind of knew exactly what items I wanted and have continued to purchase and still have all my trials available.
I used mine.
Are you referring to the temporary level 30 items, or
yeah, all that sort of business?
Okay. For me, I already honestly am in a really good spot with my items, and I'm kind of just holding on to those on my main account. I do have a second account where I'm looking forward to using those, and I think they're going to be really useful on an account that doesn't have all the items that I have on the one since I've been playing since the Switch came out. So I can totally see how someone that hasn't been all over the game for several months now, nearly every day, would make good use out of it. But on my main account, I haven't gotten much.
Okay.
I think they're literally all sitting unused in my inventory.
You used all yours, Kai Berries?
I have one left. I used two. When Sylveon came out and I was doing double glasses, I can't remember the name of the spiky, funky glasses.
Toy specs.
Yeah, those ones. I used one on that. Because I didn't know if I was going to keep playing Sylveon or not was the big thing. I'm not really a damage player. So while I was trying her, I put it on those. And then I put it on a second time on those because I was like, oh, I don't know if I like this or not. And I want to just be sure before I commit enhancers to it. It's a new item, so it wasn't leveled previously like my other ones. And then I decided, yeah, I do like her. So I can put some real ones into this.
Before we move on, Makar, you mentioned that you're hoping for some spectator upgrades, perhaps, because you've been watching
absolutely.
a lot of replays, and I mean, right now on screen we were watching a Greedent top replay, and this guy's booking. He's ignoring his own berries because he doesn't care about them because he's in it for movement speed. These are really cool things that you do over at Top Rank Pokemon Unite replays by Mockery TV.
Thank you. I like that channel a lot. It's my own channel. I guess that's kind of an egotistical thing to say, but I think it's a good project.
Not at all.
But two major limitations of the spectate feature right now, like I said, are that you can't spectate someone, to my knowledge, who's in a custom game, a friendly match, so to speak. So if you want to watch someone's tournament gameplay, then you need to watch them stream their own perspective, even with the advent of the spectate feature. I went and tested this with Shot, who was our previous guest on this show. He got into a custom. I tried to spectate him. Nothing. Couldn't see it on the friends list at all. And that, in my opinion, is something that really could stand to change. That would make it a lot easier to make content. It would make it a lot easier to run tournaments. If we could even spectate those custom friendly matches right there, I think that's a very necessary feature. In addition to that, also one thing that's a little bit frustrating about spectating is that you can only ever tie your camera perspective to an individual player. You can never freely move your camera as you desire, as is the case in almost any other MOBA. You have to specifically tie it to specific players who are going to be centered on the screen, and you can alternate between them and swap around. But if we could spectate customs and if we could free move the camera a little bit, I think that would go a long way towards making content and making, a better esports scene, even if it's largely community run, and making better content about said esports scene. So I really hope that's on the horizon eventually.
You can't spectate a custom game.
Yeah, and that seems like, in my opinion, why spectate would be added, would be to enable tournaments and all that. But apparently it's largely for what I've been doing it for, which is to watch those high rank players and sort of see what they've been doing. And I've been able to see a lot of really cool stuff that they've been up to off that. But there's definitely a lot of room for growth as well.
Interesting. There was a
I didn't know that either, and that is such a weird
yeah.
limitation of that feature.
There was a Redditor by the name of Taco Titan who went through and calculated the various score animations and their difference. This is pretty minor and crunchy stuff, but there are some interesting factoids to come out of this that you might enjoy, such as Ralts, the unevolved Gardevoir, has the shortest score animation. So they're not all made equal. They are, in fact, unique to the individual Pokemon. However, all of them have a set number of invincibility frames of 1.433 seconds. So none of them, based on how long they take to turn in, will be invincible greater than the others. But there are several differences in their turn-in speed.
Yeah, because I remember noticing something like this one time where I had fewer points than one of my allies who was in voice with me. I had fewer points than them. I started turning in before they did, and they finished before me. And I was like, you have more points and you started later. How did that happen? And they were like, oh, I don't know. And so that's definitely some kind of information that I think would be really useful to just have charted out somewhere, maybe some kind of visual representation, which it looks like is exactly what Kyle just pulled up for anybody that's watching us on Twitch or YouTube here for the visual side of things. We have some very nice looking graphs that let us see exactly how long these score animations take. So that is super convenient to know, because that is that has significant ramifications on how easy it is to turn in. I'm just curious, where does Crustle rank on this list? You know, as a aficionado of backdoor Crustle, where would you say he is in terms of time taken to score?
Wait, but hold up. So,
Okay.
but what Kyle had said was that even though they have different lengths of time, the animation lasts, the invincibility frames are the same. So for a character that takes the animation takes longer, they're locked in the animation of turning in, but they're not actually invincible for all of it.
Correct. So once
Very strange.
Once the ball is in the air and the point has been registered, they will be in those invincibility frames. Sometimes those are a little on the front, sometimes those are a little on the back, based on when it is registered by the game. So, so you asked about Crustle here, very middle of the road when it comes to start of score animation versus end of score animation. When it comes to other sorts of factors, let me see if I can find it here. He is time to start of score animation to score registering. He's very, very low. So he turns in very fast. According to the game, the points will go in before you did, in that sort of scenario that Mockery posed of two Pokemon trying to turn at the same time. But the animation for him is similar to things like Venusaur and Bulbasaur. The evolutions aren't the same. Like, you might have evolutions with different score speeds, such as what's the second version of Mamoswine?
Pillow-swine.
Pillow-swine, yeah. Yeah, he's middle of the road as well, but his first form is ridiculously slow. So to this sort of note, if you wanted to be scoring as fast as possible, if you were maximizing your point dunkage, you would take Ralts, the first form of Gardevoir, and score all throughout that evolution time, and maybe use that for more XP than doing farming. Would be min-maxing this information.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this, and to be clear about the difference of scale here, Ralts turns in 0.05 seconds faster than Kirlia, and even smaller than that for some of these other characters. So you're talking about differences that are tiny fractions of a second in turn-in speed is what I'm seeing here. I think that the opposite ends of this graph are what's really important. Like, the difference between a character that takes a very small amount of time to turn in versus very large. But a lot of these differences, like the difference between a character that takes the least amount of time to turn in versus a character that takes an average amount of time to turn in, is not that big. I think the extreme outliers are really what we should keep an eye on when it comes to these kinds of graphs, because the differences are rather minute.
Very true, very true. When we look at for instance, if you take Chansey, whose register time for a score is 1.6 seconds, and compare her to the other side of the spectrum, Squirtle, at 0.6 seconds, then you can say, wow, Squirtle can turn in a whole second faster, have his score points registered a full second faster than Chansey. And that's interesting. And you may want to favor turning in more early on with Squirtle than definitely things like Bulbasaur. And further on, because they're slower. They're not the same across the board. The evolutions change their turn-in animation speed as well as the registering speed. Also,
yeah, that's important to know, especially I feel like this is the kind of information that is a little too hyper specific to know about the entire roster, but if you have your couple mains that you're playing a lot, that's definitely information that you can know and make good use of.
Interestingly enough, the only Pokemon who turn in based on the same time as their animation, so their dunk goes and it registers the points at that exact moment, are Raboot and Mr. Mime.
I don't know why that made me laugh out loud, but it did when you said, and Mr. Mime was just like,
Obviously, this is insane min-maxing. This is absolutely nutty data for someone to go through and test by hand. But a really interesting factor, and to see that there's so much uniqueness between the Pokemon really speaks to the that cool unbalancing you want in a MOBA. It's just so important, because with numbers, you can make every hero balanced if you want. You could just go through and say 50% for all. And of course, high leagues and low leagues are going to have their differences, but you can balance in an extreme mathematical way. Yet here we're seeing even things like turn-in animations as well as the registering time of that turn-in are different across so many.
And just to touch on what you said right there, that is one thing that I hear every now and then is I feel that a lot of players of MOBAs think that the ideal goal should be to try to get as many characters toward 50% win rate as possible, but I honestly think that that's a really constricting view of design. You know, I'm not saying you believe that, I'm saying that just that's something that I've seen a lot, where people think that like maybe the goal of an online game should be to move every character towards 50%. And that kind of eliminates the possibility of having these sort of hyper niche characters that, you know, are really high skill ceiling and rewarding to putting a lot of time in them over a lot of practice, and have a lot of cool utility things that you can do. Because if you have, for example, a full utility character that alters the battlefield through giving buffs and providing obstacles for the enemy team, you know, movement speed, moving characters around, all that good stuff, and that character's at a 50% win rate, then that means that someone who actually uses those abilities really well is going to be super powerful. You know, that character at 50% win rate, if their pure utility, is way too good. So if you're trying to make every character 50% win rate, then that kind of throws the ability to make heavy utility characters just out the window. And that's only one aspect of how that kind of limits game design. So this is something I think about a lot, in particular, this exact thing. Game devs certainly could make the push to move everything towards 50%. I don't even think they want to be honest. I think it would make design a little bit too homogenous. And I like that we're accepting of a range. You know, you don't want characters dominating the win rates, and you don't want them just losing all the time. But there can be an acceptable range off of just 50 that I think allows for very healthy game design.
I think that too is what made StarCraft such an amazing game in the past, and that really blew our minds compared to something like Age of Empires. And Age of Empires has its unique, you know, it has its unique units and cavaliers and whatnot and different traits, but it was just so different to have these three completely different aliens. I'm including Terrans and aliens. They're in space, battling it out. And I love that that's a staple of MOBAs. I agree with everything you said, is what I'm saying.
Oh, for sure. StarCraft in particular was such an interesting meta because StarCraft 1, specifically StarCraft Brood War, was a game that had significant shifts in matchup knowledge and meta knowledge, without any changes to the balance whatsoever. Player knowledge simply changed and shifted and increased over time. And so win rates of certain matchups went from this side is favored to that side is favored with no interference from the game dev. So, you need to give the players some time to feel things out and need to allow for a certain range of it. And that's all good stuff that allows for us to feel things out on our own. I think Unite maybe leaves a little bit too much to the players feeling it out, but regardless, it's still a good time.
Speaking of that, does it not just blow your mind that anybody went and made that chart and found all that information in the first place?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely wild. Just the level of rigor and effort that people put into something so that others may benefit in knowing a relatively minor piece of information. It's absolutely astounding, and I honestly, that's a really good thing in my opinion. That people are willing to go through these steps just to help out other people in such a relatively small way, but a very unique way, something that no one else would have bothered to do. It's super cool.
So many people pine for the days of older systems or even pre-streaming when it comes to video games. I doubt it's intentional, but it really is interesting to see the Pokemon Unite community helping each other solve these mysteries and almost becoming more of a community through it, rather than just saying, just go watch this. Just here's a link. Get out of here. How dare you ask these questions?
Community has definitely put in some amazing detective work at finding out values and what a move changed really means, and just digging into the game in a way. You see this in other games, but I feel like Unite has taken it to a level that I don't normally see. I feel like they're rivaling WoW data mining, or maybe even surpassing it, and just taking the time to chart out the turn-in stuff. That's crazy. That's awesome.
That's a good point too. We're seeing more and more games move away from those PTRs and whatnot. We talked about that a little last week. And no PTR here means just mysteries day one and kind of the thrill of that.
Yeah, and this isn't like a discoverable API either. People aren't using machines to figure this out, right? They don't have an AI that's digging in there and finding these numbers. This is some dude charting it over and over again, right? That's the dedication.
I always find the approaches to patches so funny. Because as someone that's been around the block with a few different games, you have League of Legends, which is, hey guys, here's this patch coming up in a little while. This is what it's going to be. You can test out the changes. Some of them might get some shifts until, it actually goes live. And then you have Heroes of the Storm, for example, which is, hey guys, there's a new patch. And we're like, what changed? And they're like, I don't know. And then it actually takes a few hours after the patch, often, for us to get patch notes. And then here you have Pokemon Unite, where it's, hey guys, here's the patch. It's happening right now, as soon as you see these notes. And here's the stuff that changed. Go figure out how it changed. It's so funny to me that there can be all these vastly different approaches across different games, from just something that seems just completely out of the blue and you have no idea what's going on, versus the meticulously planned and announced and carefully sort of approached patches that some other games take, and they all foster very different environments.
Well, no matter what game you play, we can all accuse each other of not reading the notes in the first place. Unless you listen to the show, that's why you should tell people about it. Let's do an email before we end this. This comes from Spooky Witch Break. There's a 3 in the E. I think it's Break. Do y'all ever think we'll get controller support for mobile? I'm not a huge fan. I'm not huge on the mobile gaming scene, but it feels weird. It feels like a weird omission for the competitive game. I didn't know it doesn't have that. I knew a lot of people were really excited to use their various attachments and add-ons for their phones.
So I also did not know it didn't have that.
I know that there are third-party applications out there already existing before Pokemon Unite was ever officially released that allow you to map your own controller into inputs onto your phone screen. So that's absolutely an option. It's more work, you know what I mean, because it's not officially supported. But I'm sure you could just do a quick Google, something like, controller mapping mobile, for like mobile gaming, Wild Rift, Pokemon Unite, that kind of thing. And if you're willing to put in a little bit of work, do a little tweaking and configuration, you could probably get it done if you really want that to be a thing. As it stands, though, yeah, the lack of official support. I don't think official support is ever coming. I don't expect it to, but as we always say with Unite, you never know what's coming. They just throw stuff at you, and they're always dropping so much content, so many changes that you never truly know. But if you really, really want that, and you're willing to do a little work, that is an option.
Would it run in the background? Would it like clog up your phone?
I don't know, man. You're asking like
Yeah.
I've done it. I have no idea.
Because I once tried to get a PlayStation 3 controller to work on a computer, and that was a nightmare. I ended up just getting a Steam controller, and I actually really liked it, but only for like Dark Souls and stuff. Now I just use an Xbox controller.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have an Xbox 360 controller right here. In my opinion, the greatest controller ever made. And you just plug it right into the PC and it just works automatically. So that's super convenient right there. As far as phones, not quite as convenient.
Damn. That was a really big offhanded throwdown you just made.
I also use an Xbox 360 controller because they make the mini ones and I have tiny hands.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Hand size aside, I love that original Xbox. It's a boat. You're driving a tank. It's like 3 feet wide. It's just amazing.
Yeah, so my hands wouldn't fit for that, but they make the mini ones, like the children ones, and I have one of those.
We all ended up at
Very
the same
small.
place. Well, that'll do it for today's show. Thank you, everybody who writes into the show. Thank you to everybody who supports the show over at patreon.com/Aeos Clubhouse. Thank you to everybody listening and downloading this fine show. We really appreciate you. We enjoy making it. Let's pass it over to Kai Berries for a send-off.
Hello. Thank you, Kyle. My name is Kai Berries, K-I-Y-E Berries. My dog has been furious this entire show, but you can find me on twitch.tv/Kai Berries, also Twitter, YouTube, all the places on the internet making content. I'll be playing Unite later tonight, so I hope to see some of you guys there. Bump it to Mockery.
Hello, Mockery TV. That's MOCHRIE TV. You've heard it a few times by now. Twitch, YouTube, Twitter. Actually, on YouTube, I have a couple channels. Like we said before, I got my main one, Mockery TV. I've got Mockery TV Shorts. That's your mobile-friendly clip-style content. And we've got the top-ranked replays. Specifically, it's just no commentary. Pokemon Unite replays from the in-game spectate feature of the highest ranked players in the game. And what about you, Kyle Ferguson?
Why, you can find everything I do over at kyleferguson.com.
And pray tell, how many S's are in Ferguson?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because there are 2 S's in Ferguson when you spell Ferguson. There you can find the RSS feed for the show. It's worth mentioning, too. It can be found other places, but the show notes for this show can be found on those episode links over at kyleferguson.com. If you want to look at that graph for yourself, for instance, or find any of the links to anything we talked about today, the translated Japanese tweets, the various update links, they're all found in the show notes. You may be able to click them as well using your mobile device here if you're listening on podcasts. Some podcast catchers, they put it out differently depending on what you're using. Other than that does it. I'm gonna press this button for this episode of Aeos Clubhouse. Thank you all for joining us. Have a lovely week.
See you, pals.
See you later.